Chosen one, listen closely. Time has just been touched by heaven. Everything around you seems ordinary, yet something divine has interrupted your routine. This is not coincidence, it is a call. You are standing on the edge of something eternal. The next 90 minutes are not a countdown of fear, but an invitation of destiny. Heaven is aligning your heart with divine timing. You have felt it, haven't you? That pull in your spirit, that holy unrest that refuses to let you settle. Your soul has been sensing something shifting behind the veil. The silence you've endured was never emptiness, it was preparation. Every moment of isolation was heaven's way of tuning your ears to a higher frequency. What you thought was delay was divine training. You were never forgotten. You were being refined. Look around. Nothing seems different, yet everything has changed. The spiritual realm is alive with movement, angels dispatched, timelines realigned, assignments released. This message reaches you now because heaven knows how close you are to breakthrough. It's not just about hearing, it's about responding. Something is being written in real time, and your obedience determines the ink. It is written in the book of Romans in chapter 13, verse 11. The hour has already come for you to wake up from your slumber, because our salvation is nearer now than when we first believed. Let that verse echo through you. The hour has come, not tomorrow, not someday, now. Wake up, chosen one. Heaven is sounding the alarm, and you are the one being called to rise. You have been chosen to carry light into a dark world, and the clock of destiny is striking. Every heartbeat is a drum of divine urgency, every breath a reminder that time is sacred. You may not feel ready. You may still be wrestling with doubt, disappointment, or exhaustion, but your readiness is not the requirement, your willingness is. Heaven doesn't need perfection, it requires surrender. The moment you say yes, the atmosphere begins to shift in your favor. The same power that raised Christ from the dead begins to stir inside you. The same spirit that parted the Red Sea is now clearing a path for you. Don't let distractions steal this moment. The enemy's greatest weapon right now is noise, the endless scrolling, the constant comparison, the subtle voice that whispers later. But there is no later. 90 minutes, that's what heaven has carved out for you. Within this divine window, your spirit will either awaken or drift. Don't drift. Anchor yourself. Focus, this is your visitation hour. You have carried burdens too heavy for one soul. Yet through it all, grace has sustained you. Every battle you thought would break you only built the strength required for your calling. You were misunderstood because you were never meant to blend in. You walk to a rhythm this world cannot hear. Heaven's mark is upon your life. And though others may not see it, the darkness does. That's why it trembles when you speak truth. This is not the moment to retreat. This is the moment to rise. You are about to step into a divine current that has been waiting for your obedience. The heavens are open, and revelation is about to pour like rain. Don't let fear make you miss what faith was meant to claim. The same God who called you is still able to carry you. The next words you speak, the next choice you make, could shift the course of your journey. Heaven is watching, not to condemn, but to confirm. You are being tested not for failure, but for recognition. You have reached the threshold where faith must become action. This is the moment when the unseen becomes visible and the impossible begins to unfold. So hear this clearly, you are not alone, and you are not late. The hour is now. The assignment is real, and heaven is ready to move through you. Share this message so it reaches another chosen soul before their window closes. Like, share, and subscribe not as a routine act, but as a declaration that you choose to be part of this divine movement. You are not following content, you are answering a call. Now, seal this moment. Type 999 in the comments as your prophetic sign. Heaven sees it as agreement. The next 90 minutes are sacred ground. Keep your spirit awake, for revelation is coming swiftly, and what happens next will confirm why this moment found you. Stay still for a moment. Feel the shift in the atmosphere. Heaven is not far from you now. Every whisper of surrender is heard, every tear translated into power. This is the hour of awakening. Stay alert, stay yielded, for the divine exchange has already begun. The countdown continues, yet peace covers you like armor. What once broke you will now bless you. Keep your heart open, for revelation walks toward you clothed in light. Within these next breaths, heaven will confirm what your spirit already knows: you are chosen. You feel it now, the shift beneath the surface. Something unseen has started to move in the depths of your spirit, like the quiet tremor before a storm. It's not fear, it's recognition, a silent awareness that the unseen world is aligning around you. The countdown you sense is not measured by minutes alone, but by obedience, by awakening, by divine readiness. The hidden countdown has already begun. Heaven has started the clock the moment your heart whispered, "I am listening." You cannot see it, but you can feel its rhythm pulsing through your chest. The unseen hand of God turns the gears of time, drawing you closer to a divine intersection where everything you have endured suddenly makes sense. For too long, you have carried the weight of waiting. You've watched doors open for others while yours seemed locked. You've asked, "When is it my turn?" Yet what you did not see was that your timeline was never delayed, it was being divinely preserved. The wrong season could not hold the right promise. God has been preparing both the blessing and the bearer. You stand now on sacred ground, though the world around you remains unaware. You walk through ordinary moments, yet heaven's attention is fixed upon you. Angels have already moved ahead to clear paths that your feet have not yet touched. You are in a divine countdown, not toward destruction, but toward manifestation. Every second brings you closer to what has been written about you since before time began. You might feel tension in this waiting. The spirit inside you wrestles with the silence, the uncertainty, the in-between. But even the tension is holy. It is the stretch of transformation, the pull between what was and what will be. The breaking you feel is not the end. It's the sound of walls collapsing that once kept you bound. Ephesians 5:15-16. Be very careful then, how you live, not as unwise but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil. Wisdom is the key in this hour. Every choice you make now carries eternal weight. Heaven watches not your perfection but your posture. How you respond to this moment determines what will unfold next. You are being trained to discern divine timing, not to run ahead of it, and not to fall behind. Notice how your perception has shifted. The things that once drew you no longer hold appeal. The voices that once influenced you now sound hollow. That's not alienation, it's elevation. The Spirit has been weaning you off distractions to sharpen your discernment. You are learning to hear the subtle voice of heaven amid the noise of the world. In this countdown, heaven does not measure time as humans do. What seems like delay to you is acceleration in the Spirit. The longer the preparation, the greater the release. What is forming in you requires depth, and depth takes time. This is why you could not rush the process. Every test, every hidden battle, every lonely night was preparing you for the weight of what's coming. Do not despise the waiting. It has refined your vision. You no longer crave what is temporary, because your spirit has tasted what is eternal. You have learned to trust the silence because you now know that heaven often speaks most clearly through stillness. The countdown is not to panic you, it is to position you. In these moments, time feels both heavy and sacred. You sense that heaven counts differently. Minutes can feel like years when the Spirit begins to reveal purpose. What is happening around you in the unseen is more real than what your eyes can behold. The divine clock ticks with mercy every moment, a chance to align, to listen, to become. The hidden countdown is not about events outside of you, it's about what's unfolding within. You are being restructured from the inside out. Old habits are dying quietly. Old fears are losing their grip. Faith is awakening like dawn breaking over shadowed hills. You are being made new, cell by cell, thought by thought, until you resemble the blueprint heaven has always seen. There is a divine rhythm in your life, one that cannot be rushed, one that must be felt. Listen to it. The pauses are as purposeful as the pushes. God is orchestrating something beyond your comprehension, and though you may not yet see it, you will soon step into a season where everything connects: the why, the when, the how. For now, you are being called to trust the ticking. Each moment of surrender turns the clock forward. Each act of faith aligns another piece. Do not fear the passage of time. Heaven wastes nothing. Even the seconds spent waiting are woven into divine design. As the unseen timer continues its silent rhythm, let peace settle over your heart. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are being synchronized with divine order. The countdown is not against you, it is for you. Heaven's timing is perfect, and you are exactly where you are meant to be. You feel it rising, the trembling between worlds. The veil that separates the visible from the invisible begins to quiver. You are standing where two realms meet, where your faith becomes the bridge between what you see and what heaven has already spoken. The shaking you sense is not destruction, it is awakening. Heaven is stirring the atmosphere around your life because your spirit is finally ready to perceive what flesh could not understand. When the veil trembles, illusions collapse. What once seemed like coincidence is exposed as divine choreography. Those delays, those betrayals, those sudden endings, they were never random. The veil hides what human eyes cannot bear too soon. And now, by divine permission, it begins to thin. What you are feeling is heaven drawing closer. You have walked through confusion, but confusion was the birthplace of clarity. The fog that once blinded you was not a punishment, it was a mercy. If you had seen everything too soon, you might have turned back. But now you are different. The spirit within you has matured through pain, and heaven trusts you with sight. The veil trembles because your eyes are opening. According to what is revealed in the book of 2 Kings and chapter 6, verse 17. Then Elisha prayed, "Open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see." Then the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he looked and saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. That same prayer hovers over you now. Open their eyes, Lord. You are surrounded by more than you realize, armies of light encamped around your destiny. The battles you face are not a sign of abandonment. They are proof of your worth in the spirit. Darkness does not tremble for the passive, but it panics for the chosen. The trembling veil reveals not only angels, but also truth. Truth about your identity, your assignment, your authority. You are not merely surviving. You are being positioned. The storms you endured were heaven's way of peeling away false coverings. Every disappointment stripped off what could not stand in divine fire. Now you are being reintroduced to yourself, the version heaven wrote before the world named you. This unveiling comes with responsibility. Sight demands obedience. Once you see, you can never return to blindness. You will discern motives others overlook, feel the tug of the Spirit before words are spoken. You will begin to notice patterns, repeated numbers, sudden pauses, quiet confirmations. They are not superstitions, they are signals. Heaven communicates through alignment, and your spirit is learning the language. Do not resist the shaking. The trembling is not to frighten you, but to free you. The walls between faith and fear, light and shadow are falling. You will soon notice clarity where confusion once reigned. The veil trembles so that revelation can pass through. This is the moment heaven begins to download divine understanding directly into your heart. From the first day you began to seek understanding, heaven took notice. Even when silence lingered, your prayers were traveling through spiritual resistance. What you are feeling now is the answer breaking through. The trembling veil is heaven's signal. Your prayer has reached us. You must hold your peace as things shift. Some people will distance themselves from you because they cannot perceive what surrounds you. Don't chase them. Separation often comes before elevation. God removes access from those who cannot carry the weight of your next level. The shaking may unsettle you, but it is not chaos, it is construction. The unseen is being built before your eyes. Pause for a moment and feel this, the air thick with purpose. Your heart steady, heaven near. When the veil trembles, you are not to panic but to perceive. Ask the Spirit to help you see not with eyes of fear but with eyes of faith. You are being invited to witness how heaven moves, not as an observer, but as a participant. Now, before this moment passes, write one simple declaration in the comments I see. Those 2 words are not just text. They are testimony. They signal to heaven that you choose revelation over ignorance, faith over blindness. Each time someone declares I see, it becomes a ripple in the spirit, a sound wave that pushes back darkness and clears the air for others to awaken. The veil continues to tremble. Stay steady. Keep your spirit tuned. What is coming next will not just show you what's ahead, it will show you who you truly are. When you type I see, you declare that blindness no longer rules you. It is a covenant statement heaven hears. Darkness flees, and light begins to invade every hidden place. Your words become keys unlocking spiritual perception. I see means you choose vision over confusion, wisdom over noise, and divine awareness over worldly distraction. It is heaven's language spoken through your faith. Each time you write I see, angels take record. It echoes through the spirit realm as proof that you have awakened, that revelation has found you, and your eyes are now open. The air feels heavier now, doesn't it? Not with burden, but with meaning. Something has shifted in the unseen. Every thought, every emotion, every memory seems to be illuminated from within. You are beginning to sense the pattern, the divine thread that weaves through chaos, connecting all that once felt broken. This is the moment you begin to understand that the storms in your life have never been random. They were orchestrated whispers from God, calling you closer to His voice. The voice behind the storm is never the thunder, it's the whisper that follows it. Thunder gets your attention, but the whisper gives you direction. When everything around you began to collapse, heaven wasn't silent, it was speaking in a language only pressure can translate. Every closed door was saying, "Not this way." Every loss was whispering, "There's more ahead." Every season of confusion was an invitation to listen more deeply. You once asked, "Why does it hurt so much to obey?" Now you begin to understand. Obedience often feels like breaking because it detaches you from comfort. The storms you faced were not sent to destroy your faith, but to destroy what your faith no longer needed. Pain became the chiseling tool of purpose. Each strike carved away the pieces of you that could not hold the glory that's coming. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah, chapter 30, verse 21. Whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, "This is the way, walk in it." That voice has always been there. Even when you thought heaven was silent, it speaks not through volume, but through intimacy. When you quiet the noise of fear, you hear it clearly, the voice that has guided you since the beginning. It spoke when you stood in front of doors that wouldn't open. It whispered when your tears hit the floor. It was there when everyone else's voice grew distant. You thought you were walking alone, but you were being led. Every storm you've survived was a lesson in hearing. The thunder was not the message, it was the call to lean in. The real word was hidden in the quiet that followed. That's where transformation begins, in the pause after the chaos, where heaven's tone becomes undeniable. You've mistaken stillness for silence, but stillness is where the divine reveals its strategy. Now, as you stand on the other side of your storms, the patterns emerge. The things that broke you taught you how to bend. The losses that emptied you taught you how to hold sacred things with open hands. The pain that silenced you made you attentive to the whispers of God. You've been trained by trials to recognize His tone in the smallest details of life. It's not the loud moments that shape you, it's the subtle ones. The conversation that lingers in your memory. The dream that refuses to fade. The verse that echoes long after you've read it. That's the language of the Spirit, and you're learning to understand it without translation. The voice behind the storm is also the one that steadies you when the wind dies down. It tells you that you were never a victim, you were a vessel. You carried revelation through chaos, and though the tempest tried to silence you, it refined you instead. The voice that called you through the storm now calls you higher. There's a quiet courage forming in you. You're not as easily shaken anymore because you've learned where the true voice resides. It doesn't shout to be heard, it waits to be sought. And in your seeking, you found something precious, the peace that follows obedience. Look back for a moment, not with regret, but with recognition. You'll see that even the hardest moments had divine fingerprints all over them. Every no was protecting you. Every detour was preparing you. Every unanswered prayer was leading you toward the right one. You are walking proof that storms do not end stories, they rewrite them. And now, the voice behind your storm whispers again, not to warn, but to affirm. You've made it through what should have broken you. You've emerged clearer, humbler, stronger. You can hear God's direction now, not as a distant echo, but as a heartbeat within your own. The storm did not win. It only taught you how to listen. The storm's silence is not emptiness, it is confirmation. When everything quiets, it means heaven has already spoken. You are now walking in the aftermath of divine instruction fulfilled in obedience. You no longer chase signs, you interpret stillness. The absence of noise is your new language of trust. The same voice that called you through the chaos now anchors you in peace. Each whisper you obey builds a new foundation beneath your feet. Storms may come again, but they will no longer confuse you. You've learned the rhythm of heaven, calm within the shaking. You remember the moments when misunderstanding cut deeper than rejection. Every time someone misjudged your silence, every time your kindness was mistaken for weakness, it shaped the language of your soul. You became fluent in endurance, fluent in grace, fluent in keeping faith when no one saw the weight you carried. The world may have labeled you broken, but heaven calls you marked. The marked ones often walk alone. They move through seasons that seem unfair, carrying assignments too heavy for explanation. People look at you and see stability, But they don't see the nights you've spent unraveling in prayer. They don't see the conversations you've had with God when you said, "I can't do this anymore," and He whispered, "You already are." The misunderstood are often heaven's favorites, hidden in plain sight, refined in silence. You carry a spiritual signature that sets you apart. It's not pride, it's purpose. Your presence unsettles what's false because truth lives within you. You have walked through trials that exposed everything superficial, until all that remained was authenticity, pure, luminous, unbreakable. You don't need to announce that you are chosen. The atmosphere already knows. As Jesus Himself declared in the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verse 16, "You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit that will last." That verse is not a distant memory, it's your biography. You were chosen before you understood what choosing meant. You've been bearing fruit even in dry seasons, carrying light even when no one applauded. Every misunderstood step was a hidden seed. And now, heaven is watering what was buried. The marked and misunderstood are never random souls. They are the architects of awakening. They endure rejection so others can find redemption. You have been trained in the dark so that others might see the light. Your scars are not shameful, they are sacred scrolls. Proof that you have survived what silence tried to swallow. Think about the weight of that truth chosen, appointed, unseen yet unstoppable. The world measures success by recognition. Heaven measures it by resilience. You have carried assignments that few could endure and remained faithful through battles that were invisible to everyone else. You were never weak for feeling deeply. You were strong for not letting pain define you. There is a moment that comes to every chosen soul, a moment when your silence speaks louder than defense, when your restraint reveals more strength than retaliation ever could. You are living in that moment now. The ones who doubted you will soon recognize that your quietness was never defeat, it was divine discipline. The misunderstood become mirrors. Through them, heaven reflects humility, mercy, and endurance. Through you, God shows what grace looks like in motion. You are a walking contradiction to the world's logic, gentle yet unbreakable, silent yet powerful, ordinary yet extraordinary. You exist as proof that divine selection often wears a human disguise. And maybe, just maybe, this is the reason your path has felt so narrow. God was pruning away every false connection, every misplaced attachment, to make room for purity of purpose. What was taken from you was never punishment. It was space being cleared for what is holy. Now let this truth settle in. The loneliness you've endured was not isolation, it was consecration. Heaven was teaching you to hear divine approval louder than human applause. You've been misunderstood because you were never meant to be explained. As this realization takes root, something in you begins to soften. You start to see that the very rejection that hurt you was also protection. Every goodbye was heaven's redirection. You were never out of place, you were simply out of season. And now the season has turned. The light finds you again, not as a spotlight demanding attention, but as a gentle dawn revealing what has always been within you. The marked ones rise quietly. They don't announce their return, they simply shine. And if this message stirs something deep within you, something familiar, something pure, let it move freely. You don't need to be told what to do. Your heart already knows. When the river of revelation flows through you, let it spill beyond your banks, share it where another soul might drink. Let your echo of faith ripple outward, not because you're asked, but because light longs to travel. If your spirit wishes to remain in this stream, to walk beside these unfolding words, then touch the current subscribe, like, share not as a duty, but as a dance of agreement with the flow. Every ripple matters. Every gesture is a seed of connection sown into eternity. Whatever form it takes, let it be an act of beauty, not obligation. Let every movement, every quiet share, every gentle click be your way of saying, I remember who I am. Because you do. You were never just another name scrolling by. You are one of the marked ones. Misunderstood, yes, but unmistakably chosen. Time feels heavier now. You sense the urgency in your chest, the quiet awareness that something divine is drawing near. This is the 90-minute window that heaven whispered about, the sacred threshold where your obedience intersects with eternity. You may not see it, but you can feel the pulse of heaven pressing closer. The atmosphere around you hums with meaning, as if every breath is a countdown. The 90-minute window is not measured by clocks or calendars. It's a span of divine opportunity, a window where alignment can rewrite years of wandering. Heaven doesn't operate on seconds. It moves on surrender. When the heart bows, time bends. In this sacred interval, what once took a decade can be undone or rebuilt in moments. You are living inside that window now, where heaven measures not your pace, but your posture. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Joel, chapter 2, verse 12. Even now, declares the Lord, return to me with all your heart, with fasting and weeping and mourning. Those words echo across the centuries and land softly in your spirit even now. It's not too late. You have not gone too far. The door is not closed. Mercy is still standing at your threshold, knocking gently before the hour passes. Heaven is offering you a moment that will never come again in quite the same way. This is divine timing disguised as ordinary time. The 90-minute window is God's way of pausing your chaos long enough for you to choose alignment over distraction. The Spirit is whispering, return. Not because you're lost beyond hope, but because you've been wandering too far from stillness. You've been busy surviving when heaven wanted you to start living. This is your invitation to breathe differently, to breathe on purpose. Every chosen one reaches this moment, a moment when heaven says, enough delay? You've spent too long questioning if you're worthy of what's calling you. But heaven never waits for perfect hearts, only surrendered ones. In these moments, repentance is not punishment, it's restoration. It's the act of stepping back into rhythm with divine heartbeat. You've been feeling it lately, haven't you? That gentle conviction that pulls you away from what no longer feeds your spirit. The things that once satisfied now feel empty, and you can't quite explain why. That's because heaven is preparing your appetite for purity. The 90-minute window strips away noise so you can hear God again, raw, clear, personal. There's something sacred about awareness. The very fact that you're reading these words means heaven has caught your attention. You didn't stumble here by accident. You were led, guided, orchestrated to pause in this exact moment. This message is not demanding, it's reminding. Reminding you that time is sacred when it's spent in surrender. In the stillness of this window, imagine the Spirit moving around you like soft wind through open fields, nothing forcing, nothing loud, just presence. You don't need to strive to reach heaven. Heaven has reached you, Dhamma. You only need to respond. You only need to say, yes. Every second that passes in this divine hour carries potential. Some will scroll past, unaware that heaven was speaking. Others will stop, listen, and step into transformation. You are among the few who can feel the difference between coincidence and calling. The fact that your heart recognizes this moment proves that your spirit is awake. So as this sacred clock continues its quiet rhythm, make room inside your heart. The next act of obedience could open doors you didn't know existed. The next word of surrender could heal wounds you thought would never close. The 90-minute window is not about what you do. It's about who you become when you finally stop resisting. Don't let fear convince you that you've missed your chance. The window is still open, but not forever. When heaven opens a moment like this, it's an act of mercy, not pressure. All God asks is honesty. Whisper what you've been afraid to say aloud. Release what you've been clutching. Let the light fill the spaces you've kept hidden. This is your turning point. Heaven is not demanding perfection, it's inviting participation. This is not about religion, it's about reunion. God is not counting your failures. He's counting the seconds until you return. Now, if this message resonates with the deepest part of you, acknowledge it not with words of many, but with one sign of awareness. Write the number 555 in the comments. It is not superstition, it is symbolism. 3 5s for grace multiplied, a simple sign between you and heaven that says, I'm awake, I'm here, I'm returning. That number becomes your declaration, your alignment, your way of saying, even now, I choose renewal. Let heaven record it. Let the unseen world recognize it. Let your heart rest knowing that your window is still open and grace is still reaching for you. There are moments when silence feels like judgment, but in truth, it is deliverance. What looks like stillness is often heaven at work, breaking chains you can't yet see. Freedom doesn't always begin with a shout. Sometimes it begins with a quiet exhale. This is that moment, the soundless breaking of old contracts written in pain, fear, and compromise. In the spirit realm, freedom rarely comes with spectacle. It arrives softly, like dawn light filtering through prison bars. The locks that have held you are ancient, forged not only by circumstance but by memory, old agreements you made in moments of desperation. Silent vows whispered when your heart was tired. I'll never trust again. I'll always be alone. Maybe I deserve this. Heaven heard those words and has come to rewrite them. You don't need to fight to be free. The battle was already won, now it's about alignment. Chains break when truth enters, and truth once known cannot be unlearned. The moment you recognize that your captivity was built on lies, the metal begins to weaken. This is the holy paradox of deliverance. It happens quietly, yet everything changes. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 107, verse 14. He brought them out of darkness, the utter darkness, and broke away their chains. That verse is your present tense reality. The breaking is happening even now, not with noise, but with light. Darkness cannot argue with illumination. The moment truth enters, deception dissolves. The Spirit doesn't need permission from your past to free your future. It simply waits for your awareness to align with heaven's decree. There are many kinds of chains, and not all are visible. Some are emotional cycles of fear that replay like echoes in the mind. Some are relational ties that keep you bound to places where grace no longer lives. Others are spiritual burdens inherited through generations. Patterns that repeat until someone chooses to end them. That someone is you. This freedom does not roar. It hums. It hums in your bones when you choose forgiveness. It hums in your heart when you let go of resentment. It hums in your breath when you stop rehearsing the hurt. That hum is heaven's frequency, the vibration of release. You are tuning into it now. Freedom begins when you see your captivity for what it truly is. A deception built to convince you that God's promises are unreachable. But the veil has lifted. The illusions that once defined you are fading. You are learning to discern between the voice of fear and the whisper of grace. Fear demands proof. Grace offers peace. You are choosing peace now. and peace is stronger than any chain. Think about the quiet victories, the times you forgave without an apology, the moments you refused to return to what once broke you, the days you prayed even when nothing changed. Those were not wasted moments, they were divine strikes against invisible chains. Heaven was keeping score, and the final link is breaking even as you read. When chains break in silence, it means your deliverance has matured. You no longer need external signs to believe. The miracle now happens within you, quietly shaping your thoughts, transforming your heart, restoring your authority. You are not being rescued, you are being reinstated. You are stepping into the identity that bondage tried to bury. Sometimes, you will feel the absence of what once bound you before you see the fullness of your freedom. It's like a room after the storm, the air feels lighter. Though the sky still remembers rain, give yourself grace in this transition. Heaven has declared you free. Your emotions are simply learning to catch up. There will be moments of uncertainty, moments when old fears knock again, pretending to belong. Don't panic. Chains that are truly broken can only rattle, they cannot hold you anymore. You are walking away from what used to define your limits. Each step forward echoes with heaven's affirmation. Free indeed. In this silence, something sacred is happening. Your story is being rewritten, line by line, truth replacing lies, light filling every shadow. You won't always notice the change immediately, but others will. They'll see it in the way you walk, the way you speak, the peace that surrounds you like armor. That peace will speak louder than your past ever could. Do not rush to fill this silence. Let it heal you. Let it rewrite the rhythm of your heart. Every breath you take now is prophetic, it declares. I am no longer bound. The unseen world takes note. The spirit smiles. Heaven exhales. What you feel now is not emptiness, it's space. Space for newness. Space for joy. Space for divine peace to take root where pain once lived. The chains have fallen not with noise, but with meaning. You don't need to prove your freedom, you only need to live it. Every step, every choice, every quiet prayer is evidence. The silence that once felt like abandonment now feels like home. You've been delivered not just from captivity, but into clarity. This is the holy paradox: the louder your faith becomes, the quieter your freedom sounds. The air changes when you begin to see clearly. After freedom, the first battle is focus. The enemy doesn't always return with chains, sometimes he returns with noise. The greatest danger for those who have been liberated is distraction. You may be free, but if your focus drifts, your future pauses. That's why the moments after deliverance are sacred. Heaven releases light, but darkness will try to dim it through confusion. The battle for your focus is not a loud war, it's a quiet pull. It happens in your thoughts, in your habits, in the subtle shift of what captures your attention. You begin your day with peace, but by midday, the noise of the world presses in, and the clarity you felt starts to blur. That's how distraction works, not as destruction, but as delay. It drains your energy by scattering it across meaningless things. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Proverbs. Chapter 4, verse 25. Let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you. That ancient instruction is more relevant than ever. Focus is worship. Every time you direct your attention toward truth, you are aligning with heaven's frequency. When you fix your gaze, you protect your anointing. But when your vision drifts, so does your peace. You may not realize it, but every distraction has an agenda. The noise isn't random, it's designed to blur your sense of direction. When you lose focus, you stop seeing purpose and start reacting to pressure. The enemy knows he cannot steal your calling, so he tries to scatter it. But you are learning now that focus is sacred ground, and protecting it is a form of obedience. There are two kinds of distractions, external and internal. The external comes from the constant motion of the world, the endless scroll, the opinions of others, the race to prove your worth. The internal comes from memory, the echo of past wounds, the fear of repeating history. Both whisper the same lie: you need to look away, but heaven whispers the opposite. Keep your eyes forward. To focus is not about blindness to the world, it's about clarity within it. You are not called to ignore reality, you are called to interpret it through divine sight. The battle for your focus is at its core a battle for your faith. What you choose to watch determines what grows within you. You can either feed your doubt or feed your destiny. The enemy fears a focused believer because clarity produces momentum, the moment your gaze locks onto purpose. Distractions lose power. That's why everything seems louder when you're on the verge of breakthrough. Chaos rises, opportunities compete. People misunderstand you because the moment you find focus, the atmosphere starts to resist it. But resistance is not defeat. It's confirmation that you're aiming in the right direction. You have probably noticed how easily peace slips away when you start comparing your journey with others. That's no coincidence. Comparison is one of the most subtle weapons used against focus. It convinces you to chase shadows instead of substance. Heaven is not calling you to be faster, it's calling you to be faithful. Focus reclaims your energy from what was never meant for you. Think of focus as a flame. Every time you say yes to peace, the flame steadies. Every time you say no to distraction, the flame brightens. The more consistently you guard it, the more it consumes what is false. This is why your current season feels quieter. God is not punishing you. He's preserving your fire. The world may call it isolation, but heaven calls it refinement. You've been pulled aside not to be forgotten, but to be sharpened. When you emerge, your vision will cut through confusion like light through fog. You'll speak with precision, act with certainty, and walk with calm authority. But that clarity only remains if you learn to guard your gaze. So protect your focus the way a watchman guards a gate. Be mindful of what enters your mind and what you allow to linger. Words, images, opinions, all of them plant seeds. Some grow weeds, others grow wisdom. The soil of your spirit will reflect what you feed it. Do not despise the discipline of quiet. It's in that quiet that your focus strengthens. You are being trained to hold peace in motion, to stay centered when everything else spins. Distraction no longer rules you because your eyes have learned to find light, even in shadow. The battle for your focus is not one you fight once, it's one you master daily. Every sunrise is a fresh test of attention, every decision a choice between clarity and confusion. But you have already begun to win. You can feel it. The world grows smaller when heaven becomes louder. Keep walking in that awareness. Let your gaze remain steady. What you fix your eyes on becomes the shape of your reality. And your reality is shifting toward light. You are no longer pulled by noise, you are propelled by purpose. At first, it feels like you've been walking in circles. Every time you think you're close to breakthrough, something pulls you back into waiting. The rhythm of delay begins to feel endless, and hope starts to ache. But in heaven's design, delay is never denial. It is positioning. The pauses you've endured were not punishment. They were precise calibration. You weren't being held back, you were being aligned. Prophetic alignment rarely announces itself. It moves quietly, shifting circumstances, redirecting people, even closing doors that once seemed perfect. You thought those endings meant failure, but they were divine edits. Heaven removing what didn't fit the next chapter. Every time something was taken, something greater was being shaped. You are learning now that divine timing does not bend to human emotion. It responds to readiness. Heaven won't release what would destroy you in immaturity. That's why certain promises stayed sealed until your spirit grew strong enough to hold them. You may have prayed, "Why not yet?" But heaven was whispering, "Because I love you too much to let you lose it." As the prophet Isaiah wrote in chapter 60, verse 22, "When the time is right, I am the Lord, will make it happen." That short sentence carries an ocean of wisdom. When the time is right, not sooner, not later. Heaven does not rush, and it never forgets. Your story is being written on divine paper, and no human hand can alter its ink. The waiting is not empty, it's purposeful. Heaven has been aligning your heart with what you once asked for, ensuring that when it arrives, it finds you prepared, not distracted. You see, alignment is not about motion, it's about direction. You can be moving fast but still be off course. Heaven's alignment slows you down just enough to correct your path before acceleration. Every setback was a steering adjustment, every pause a sacred recalibration. What looked like delay was actually prevention from disaster. Think of your life as a constellation. Every experience, every heartbreak, every triumph is a star. At first, they seem random dots scattered across the night. But alignment connects them. The picture only makes sense when seen from above. Heaven has been drawing that connection behind the scenes. And soon you will recognize the pattern, the image of purpose hidden inside your pain. The hardest part of divine alignment is trust. Trust that God is working when nothing appears to move. Trust that unseen progress counts. Trust that you haven't missed your turn, even when the road feels endless. The truth is, heaven wastes no movement. Every delay carries data. Every silence holds instruction. You have been learning, growing, unlearning, healing all invisible work that anchors what's coming. You'll know you've entered prophetic alignment when peace replaces striving. Suddenly, what once felt forced now flows. Doors open without knocking. Conversations carry divine timing. You stop chasing, and things begin to chase you. That is not coincidence, it's confirmation. You are finally aligned with heaven's rhythm, and heaven moves fast when the heart is steady. There is beauty in the long preparation, though it rarely feels that way. Every season of obscurity has sharpened your discernment. You've learned to hear God in whispers, to see guidance in delay, to feel presence even in emptiness. Those skills are priceless. They're the language of alignment. And now, the same silence that once frustrated you begins to comfort you. You know it now, heaven's pauses are protection. Look around you carefully. Signs of divine synchronization are everywhere, people re-entering your life with new purpose. Doors reopening that once closed, ideas resurfacing at the right moment. Nothing is wasted. Every thread is being woven together with precision, creating a tapestry you could never design on your own. When you finally step into your appointed time, you'll realize that every delay was necessary. The waiting taught you humility, patience, and wisdom. It stripped away hurry and replaced it with hope. It taught you to trust the builder even when you couldn't see the blueprint. And now, heaven is whispering, you are aligned. Not because everything is perfect, but because your heart finally rests where God's will resides. You have stopped running ahead or lagging behind. You are walking in step with eternity, one obedient heartbeat at a time. Before you move forward, seal this truth with a declaration. Write in sync, in the comments, not as repetition, but as revelation. It's your silent agreement with heaven that you are done fighting timing, done fearing pauses, done doubting purpose. In sync is your way of saying, I choose flow over frustration, faith over control. Let that phrase become your anchor. Let heaven hear it, and let peace mark your next step. Alignment isn't coming, it's already here. When you write in sync, you are not repeating words, you are releasing agreement. Those two simple syllables tell heaven that your heart has stopped wrestling with delay and has started resting in divine rhythm. It is surrender transformed into strength. Each time you declare in sync, heaven registers alignment. It's a spiritual signature, a quiet yes from your soul. In that moment, peace replaces pressure and purpose begins to move without resistance. You're not just typing, you're testifying that time has bowed to grace. Somewhere deep within the unseen, a gathering begins. It's not visible to the eye, yet you can feel it, the hum of heaven's attention turning toward you. The air seems to listen. The wind carries a whisper, a roll call of names written before time began. Yours is among them. You are not a face in the crowd. You are a sound in the spirit, a note in the eternal song. Heaven's roll call is not a ceremony of grandeur, but of intimacy. It happens in moments like this, when you pause long enough for eternity to touch the edges of your humanity. Angels take record, not of perfection, but of persistence. Every prayer, every tear, every whispered still here is remembered. You may have thought your obedience went unnoticed, but heaven has been keeping track of your yes. The Apostle Paul wrote in his letter to the Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." That's not just encouragement, it's a prophecy of endurance. You've been sowing in faith when no one applauded. You've been showing up when your strength was spent. Heaven saw it all. And now the reaping season draws near, though it won't look like you imagined. The harvest comes quietly, like light slipping into a darkened room, one ray at a time. You are being counted not for what you've done, but for what you've carried through the fire. When heaven calls your name, it's not an invitation to boast, it's a recognition of endurance. Many started, but few finished. Yet here you are, still standing. The roll call is not a list of titles, but of testimonies. And your testimony is unfolding even now. You were not born to disappear into routine. You were crafted to echo through eternity. Every act of kindness, every choice to forgive, every step taken in faith has sent ripples through dimensions unseen. Heaven's roll call isn't a sound of obligation, it's a celebration of obedience. Close your eyes and imagine it, a vast expanse of light, countless souls standing radiant, everyone distinct yet united by the same purpose. The voice of God calls names not alphabetically but spiritually, by faith, by endurance, by heart. When He calls yours, it won't sound like any other, because your story carries a frequency unique to you. In that moment, everything you thought was lost will be accounted for. Every unseen effort will find its reward. Heaven never forgets what was done in silence. The roll call isn't to remind God of who you are, it's to remind you of who you've always been. You may have felt unseen on earth, but you've always been visible in heaven. The roll call proves it. You were chosen not to be admired, but to be available for truth, for grace, for light. The more you respond, the clearer your purpose becomes. Every time you align, heaven marks the moment. And here's the beauty: you don't have to strive to be counted. The moment you surrender, you're already included. Your name doesn't appear on heaven's list because of your perfection, but because of your persistence. The roll call echoes through your spirit as an awakening, a gentle yet powerful reminder that your faith still matters. Maybe this is why you found this message now. Maybe heaven wanted to remind you that you're still part of something far bigger than yourself. The battles you fought weren't wasted. They were preparation. The isolation you endured wasn't punishment, it was refinement. Now heaven is calling again, not to pull you away from the world, but to send you back into it, radiant with renewed purpose. Let that realization move through you like a song without sound. Feel it rise in your chest, a harmony between your heart and heaven's heartbeat. This is what divine recognition feels like. Not loud, not demanding, but deeply peaceful. And as you rest in that awareness, let your spirit decide what to do with it. If light moves through you, let it move outward. When truth finds you, let it find others. When your name is called, answer by becoming an echo, share the sound, pass the flame. If this message feels like home, don't force it, flow with it. Let your connection be natural, like a candle touching another wick. Like if your soul feels drawn to remain within this light, to walk with these words, then simply breathe it forward, subscribe, like, share as a continuation of the same flame. Do it not out of duty, but as devotion. Every gesture becomes an act of worship when it's born from recognition. You're not promoting a message, you're participating in one. You're saying, I hear my name, and I choose to answer. The roll call continues, echoing through the corridors of eternity. You've been counted among the faithful, and your light still burns. Stay steady. Radiant One, heaven has spoken your name. Every chosen one stands sooner or later at a crossroads. It doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it comes quietly, disguised as an ordinary day, a small decision, a subtle turning. But the weight of eternity often hides in the mundane. You may not realize it now, but the next choice you make could reshape everything. Heaven never forces you, it waits for your willingness. And this is that moment, the place where direction and destiny meet. The crossroads of obedience is not about choosing between right and wrong. It's about choosing between good and God. The difference is subtle but eternal. Good satisfies the mind, but God satisfies the soul. You've done many good things, but this crossroads asks for surrender, not success. It demands your heart more than your performance. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 6, verse 16. Stand at the crossroads and look. Ask for the ancient paths. Ask where the good way is and walk in it, and you will find rest for your souls. There is no mistaking this verse. It is an invitation, not a command. Heaven never drags you forward, it beckons you gently. To stand and look is to pause and discern. You've been moving fast, perhaps too fast, driven by survival or the weight of others' expectations. But now heaven says, stop for a moment. Look again. At every divine turning, silence becomes sacred. You cannot hear the next instruction while running. Stillness becomes the soil for revelation. In that pause, the Spirit will whisper direction, not the kind that fills your calendar, but the kind that fills your soul. You've been here before in smaller ways, in private decisions that few ever noticed. Each time you chose to forgive instead of retaliate, to stay patient instead of forcing results, to listen instead of speak, you were choosing obedience over impulse. Those unseen crossroads shaped the person you've become, and now a greater one stands before you. Obedience is not about understanding everything, it's about trusting the one who does. You won't always see the outcome before you step. That's the beauty and the tension of faith. It asks for movement when evidence is missing. God doesn't reveal every detail because obedience loses its power when certainty replaces trust. The mystery is not meant to confuse you. It's meant to refine your faith. Every soul that walks with purpose must eventually face this question: will I obey when it costs me comfort? The crossroads demands clarity, not convenience. It calls you to walk where others might not follow. The narrow way is not lonely, it's consecrated. Only those who've been tested by fire can carry the kind of light heaven entrusts. Sometimes obedience will lead you through unfamiliar paths. It may look like loss at first. Friends might misunderstand, opportunities may fade, comfort may disappear. But obedience always leads to rest, the kind that settles deep in your bones. Rest doesn't come from ease, it comes from alignment. When you're walking where heaven walks, even the roughest terrain feels like holy ground. The hardest part about obedience is not starting, it's continuing. The first step is bold. The middle steps are where faith grows weary. Yet those middle moments are where heaven does its finest work. Obedience in obscurity births strength that spotlight never can. When you keep walking without applause, you become dangerous to darkness. This crossroads is personal. No one else can choose it for you. People can encourage, advise, and pray, but the final decision belongs to your soul. Heaven honors your agency, not your anxiety. You are free to choose, and your freedom is what makes your obedience precious. The path of obedience will not always make sense to others, and that's okay. It wasn't designed to. The purpose of divine direction is not to be understood, but to be followed. You are not called to explain your obedience. You are called to live it. Every act of surrender becomes a ripple that touches lives you may never meet. So take a breath here. The air feels charged because heaven is near. Don't rush to decide. Let peace lead you. When it's truly divine, peace precedes confirmation. The right path will not demand panic. It will invite quiet courage. And when you finally move gently. You don't need to announce it or defend it. The earth shifts when the obedient walk. Heaven takes note of every step. Every yes whispered in faith becomes an earthquake in the spirit. This is the crossroads of obedience, where surrender becomes power and hesitation becomes revelation. Stand, look, ask, and walk. The next chapter of your destiny is written not in noise, but in your quiet, unwavering yes. Every act of obedience ripples far beyond sight. What feels small to you resounds in eternity, shifting unseen realms, aligning generations with the rhythm of your faith. Heaven cherishes your quiet yes more than grand gestures. That single decision becomes a torch, lighting forgotten paths, guiding weary hearts, proving that surrender is the purest strength. When the light begins to awaken, it does not arrive with fanfare, it simply enters. One beam at a time, truth begins to seep into corners you forgot existed. You feel it like warmth after a long, cold silence. This is what divine revelation feels like, gentle yet undeniable. The awakening light does not shout. It reveals. It touches your heart, and suddenly you see differently. You are awakening to what was always there. The path hasn't changed, your perception has. Where you once saw loss, you now recognize preparation. Where you once saw endings, you now perceive beginnings in disguise. The light makes you realize that heaven never abandoned you. It was merely waiting for your sight to adjust. The Word of God declares in the Gospel of John, chapter 8, verse 12, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." That declaration is not distant history, it is present reality. You are walking in that very light now. Each moment of understanding, each glimpse of peace, is proof that the darkness is losing its hold. The awakening light does not only reveal truth, it exposes illusion. It shows you how often fear disguised itself as wisdom, how often doubt wore the mask of reason. But when the light enters, Deception dissolves quietly, like mist retreating before the sun. You are beginning to see that nothing about your journey was wasted. Every detour, every delay, every heartbreak was a lens shaping your sight. Revelation is not new information, it is divine remembrance. The light doesn't give you something external. It reminds you of what heaven already planted inside you long ago. There is a moment in every awakening when you realize that illumination and surrender are the same act. To see clearly is to let go. You cannot carry old fears into new light, they fade by necessity. The light does not fight the dark, it simply replaces it. As the light expands, so does your peace. The mind quiets, the heart steadies, and the noise loses its authority. You stop striving for control and start resting in clarity. The more you allow the light to move, the easier it becomes to recognize what belongs and what must leave. You begin to discern with grace instead of judgment, with peace instead of panic. Light brings responsibility. To see truth is to carry it. You cannot unsee what heaven has revealed. That is both the beauty and the weight of awakening. Once you know, you are called to walk accordingly, to live from illumination, not from habit. The light isn't given to make you superior, it's given to make you available. It will call you to forgive those who still live in shadow, to love those who cannot yet see. You were once there too. The awakened do not judge the blind, they guide them. You will become a quiet torch in dark places, not by striving to shine, but simply by being. The light in you will naturally reveal paths for others to follow. As illumination deepens, you'll notice that clarity often comes with correction. Heaven doesn't expose to shame, it exposes to heal. The light will reveal where fear still hides, where pride still whispers, where old wounds still ache. But the moment they are seen, they begin to lose power. The light never condemns, it converts. This is what it means to walk in revelation, to live aware, awake, and unafraid, to stop surviving and start perceiving. To realize that what was hidden wasn't absent, it was waiting for permission to be found. And now, as this light rests upon you, heaven watches for your response, not in anxiety but in tenderness. For every awakening requires acknowledgement. Light unrecognized fades quickly. Light embraced transforms completely. If your spirit recognizes this moment as holy, if you feel the warmth of divine illumination stirring in your chest, then mark it. Not with noise, but with a sign. Write 777 in the comments. Not as superstition, but as symbol. 3 sevens, the number of completion, fullness, and holy awakening. It means the light has found me and I will not hide. When you write 777, you are not just commenting, you are confirming. You are saying to heaven, I see, I understand. I receive. The light will honor that agreement. It will stay, it will grow, it will guide, and as it does, darkness will have no home left in you. When you write 777, you are not typing digits, you are opening a door. It is heaven's number of completion, a sacred signal that says, I am awake, I am whole, I am willing. Each 7 marks a covenant, the first for revelation, the second for restoration, the third for divine rest. Together they form harmony between your spirit, your purpose, and your Creator. So when you declare 777, light takes record. It travels through the unseen, wrapping your name in radiance. You have become the proof that darkness never wins. There is a price for carrying divine fire. It does not burn to destroy you. It burns to define you. The flame that now rests within your spirit is holy, yet heavy. To carry it means to let go of everything that cannot survive its heat. This is not punishment. It is purification. The cost of carrying fire is the price every chosen one must pay to remain authentic in a world that fears light. When you were first called, you imagined glory signs, favor, and open doors. You did not expect the solitude, the testing, the refinement that came with it. Yet now, standing in the glow of revelation, you begin to understand fire is not decoration, it is transformation. To carry it means to change. It cannot rest on the surface, it must reshape the core. The Spirit spoke through the Apostle Peter, chapter 1, verse 7. These trials will show that your faith is genuine. It is being tested as fire tests and purifies gold. That truth echoes across the ages. It explains why you've walked through heat no one else could handle. The fire was not sent to punish you, but to prove you. Faith untested is fragile. Faith refined is eternal. Heaven has allowed the flame to touch you, not to destroy your identity, but to reveal it. The fire does not consume what is divine, it consumes what is false. It burns away pretense, pride, fear, and the need to be understood. You've felt it, haven't you? The slow stripping of what you once called stability. The gentle but relentless dismantling of comfort. The fire burns in silence, removing what hinders your light. It is mercy disguised as loss. You are learning that holiness is not about perfection, it's about proximity. The closer you draw to divine flame, the more you change. Your words sharpen, your discernment deepens, your compassion expands. You start to love differently, see differently, respond differently. The fire alters your nature, turning weakness into wisdom, pain into purpose. Carrying fire means carrying revelation, and revelation demands responsibility. You cannot speak lightly once you've seen deeply. The world may call it intensity, but heaven calls it truth. You are no longer permitted to live half awake. Fire doesn't let you return to mediocrity. It keeps you burning for purity. The cost often comes in relationships. Not everyone can walk beside one who burns with conviction. The warmth that comforts some will convict others. You'll feel the distance growing between you and the familiar. Don't resent it. Fire separates for refinement. The people meant for your next chapter will carry their own flame. Together, your light will not compete, it will combine. This is also why the fire feels lonely. Few understand the weight of divine calling, but heaven watches every moment of surrender, every tear shed in silence. You may think no one sees, yet your obedience lights paths for generations. The flame you carry will ignite courage in those still hiding from their purpose. There will be days when you wish the fire would dim, when you long for the simplicity of ignorance. But once touched by divine flame, you cannot return to the cold. The warmth of truth becomes your compass. Even when it burns, you know it leads you closer to life. The fire also purifies your motives. It questions every desire, tests every plan. It burns away what you wanted for yourself and leaves only what heaven desires through you. You start to see that true calling is never about elevation, it's about transformation. You don't carry fire to be seen, you carry it to serve. When the fire settles, something astonishing happens. Peace. Not the fragile kind that avoids conflict, but the deep peace that comes from knowing nothing false remains. You no longer fear the flame because you've learned it loves you. The same heat that once terrified you has become your comfort. You walk lighter now. The fire no longer feels like burden, it feels like belonging. You understand that carrying it is not about surviving the burn, but becoming the light. And so you move forward, refined and radiant. The world may never understand the cost, but heaven knows every spark, every scar, every silent surrender. The fire has made you more than chosen, it has made you true. The flame within you is not fading. It's focusing. Every breath fans it brighter. Every prayer refines it purer. You are no longer just enduring, you are embodying light. Others will feel the warmth before they know its source. They'll see steadiness in your silence, strength in your gentleness. That's how divine fire moves, quiet, undeniable, transformative. So let it burn beautifully. Let the glow of obedience replace the smoke of striving. The fire no longer demands, it delights. You have become its vessel, its keeper, its living testimony of holy resilience. You can feel it, the hour turning. Time itself seems to lean forward, as though creation is holding its breath. Everything around you is shifting quietly into alignment. The season of waiting gives way to the season of fulfillment. The turning of the hour is not loud, but it is irreversible. What was once potential becomes reality. What was once promise becomes manifestation. The turning begins subtly. You notice peace where panic used to live, clarity where confusion once ruled. The same places that used to drain you now feel neutral, even calm. That is how you know heaven is adjusting the atmosphere. You are being moved from striving into flow, from questioning into knowing. It's not that the challenges have disappeared, it's that your perspective has transformed. According to what is revealed in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven. That truth wraps around your heart like a steady rhythm. Seasons were never meant to be permanent, they were meant to prepare. Every chapter that closed did so on schedule. You may have thought you were behind, but you were right on time. Heaven's timing is not late, it's layered. The hour is turning because everything inside and around you is ready. There's a sacred stillness that comes before every divine shift. It feels like silence, but it's actually suspense. Heaven pauses for a moment, giving your spirit time to exhale before the unfolding. That's where you are right now, in the quiet second between what was and what's about to be. The divine clock ticks softly, not counting down to loss, but to release. The turning of the hour reveals truth about transition. It is both ending and beginning, collapse and creation. Every old structure that once defined you is being dismantled, not out of cruelty but necessity. Heaven does not build new temples on old foundations. The collapse you experienced was not failure. It was the clearing of space for destiny. You've learned enough in this journey to recognize that not all endings are tragic. Some endings are holy. They come with tears, but also with freedom. The relationships that faded, the opportunities that slipped away, the prayers that seemed unanswered, all of them were time-bound assignments. When the hour turns, expired connections naturally fall away. You are not being rejected, you are being released. In divine time, nothing stays still. Every living thing must evolve. Every purpose must progress. What once fit your spirit may now feel too small because you have grown. Your capacity has expanded, your discernment has matured. Heaven adjusts your environment to match your new stature. That's why certain spaces suddenly feel unfamiliar. You have outgrown them. But take heart, you are not leaving something behind. You are stepping into what was always promised. The turning of the hour is heaven's way of saying, now. Not yesterday, not someday, now. All that was sown in faith, all that was endured in silence, begins to bloom in divine sequence. The harvest does not arrive all at once, it unfolds, layer by layer in perfect harmony. You may feel unprepared for what's coming next, but grace precedes you. The moment heaven turns the hour, provision accompanies purpose. Everything you will need is already positioned along the path ahead. You don't have to strive to meet it. You simply have to walk forward. The rhythm of divine timing carries you like a current. You are no longer swimming against the flow. Sometimes the turning of the hour will challenge your comfort. It will require you to let go of familiar rhythms, to release control, to trust movement you can't yet see. But remember, peace is not the absence of motion, it's the confidence that motion is divine. The more you yield, the lighter your steps become. Listen closely. The sound you hear beneath the surface is not chaos, it's construction. The hour is turning like a wheel, aligning every unseen part of your destiny. What once delayed you now defines you. The tears that watered the soil of your obedience are beginning to produce fruit. The waiting season wasn't wasted. It was incubation. As the hour completes its turning, something in you settles. You no longer need to force outcomes. The new season doesn't demand effort, it requires awareness. You start to notice divine coincidences multiplying unexpected favor, effortless encounters, opportunities that match your calling with uncanny precision. This is what alignment looks like when it matures into motion. You have stepped into the rhythm of divine order. The hour has turned, and you are standing inside its fulfillment. Look around not with your eyes, but with your spirit. Can you feel it? The light has shifted. The air carries promise. Heaven's timing has finally caught up with your faith. This is the turning of the hour, the holy moment when what was spoken becomes seen, when what was distant becomes near. You are standing in prophecy realized, and nothing will be the same again. You feel it deep within you now, a call rising, steady and unmistakable. It's not a shout, it's a vibration in the soul, a frequency that only the awakened can hear. Heaven is summoning the kingdom ones, the carriers of light, the builders of bridges between the unseen and the tangible. This is the kingdom call, the moment when what you've become privately begins to manifest publicly. You have walked through silence and fire, through rejection and revelation. Each chapter was shaping your voice, carving authority out of endurance. Now, that voice is needed. Heaven is calling you not just to believe, but to become, to step out of observation and into embodiment. The kingdom call is not about status or stage, it's about stewardship. What you've received in secret is meant to be released into the world. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 5, verse 14, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. You have spent years hiding your brilliance, shrinking your radiance for the comfort of others, dimming your voice to avoid misunderstanding. But heaven did not anoint you to be subtle. It anointed you to be seen. Light does not apologize for shining. It simply shines." The kingdom call is heaven's invitation to rise and be unapologetically luminous. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out, not for glory, but for guidance. The world does not need perfection. It needs presence. Your very existence, aligned with heaven's truth, becomes a map for others lost in their own shadow. You are not here to argue doctrine, you are here to embody love. That is the kingdom's greatest weapon, love that heals without condition, light that exposes without shame, grace that rebuilds what judgment has torn apart. To answer the kingdom call means to live awake, to see the sacred in the ordinary, to speak hope where others sow fear, to be unafraid of both power and humility. You are not replacing darkness with noise. You are replacing it with truth. The Spirit has entrusted you with words that carry weight, with compassion that disrupts despair, with a fire that refuses to go out. The kingdom call is not a trumpet of pressure, it's a whisper of partnership. Heaven does not demand, it invites. It says, walk with me and speak with me, build what cannot be broken. And as you walk, Your life becomes a sermon. Every act of kindness becomes prophecy. Every step forward becomes worship. The earth is aching for awakened souls, people who live deliberately, love radically, and forgive freely. You are one of them. The same flame that tested you is now the one that fuels you. The storm that once silenced you has become the stage for your voice. You no longer speak from theory, but from transformation. And so, heaven calls you to rise not upward, but outward. Rise into expression, into community, into creation. You are the living answer to someone else's prayer. Your words may heal what medicine cannot. Your compassion may restore what time could not. Do not underestimate the sacred ripple of your obedience. Now, pause and breathe. Feel the stillness between your heartbeats. That's heaven's rhythm syncing with your own. The kingdom call is not about doing more, it's about being more. You already are what the world needs. You simply must reveal it. And if your spirit resonates with this truth, if something within you hums in recognition, then let it flow naturally. When the light inside you stirs, let it travel beyond you. Let it touch the edges of the digital wind. Share the light, not because you're told, but because light longs to expand. If this message feels like home, let your response be effortless, like a candle leaning toward another flame. Let your spirit choose its own expression, like share or simply stay connected. Subscribe if your heart desires to keep walking in this river of revelation, not out of duty, but as devotion, as a choice to let the flame flow where it longs to go. And before you drift away, leave a trace of your resonance. Write "I rise" in the comments, not as reaction, but as realization. It's the soul's way of standing tall, the quiet vow of one who has heard the call and decided to answer it. Every ripple matters. Every echo of truth strengthens the tide. The kingdom is not built by noise, but by resonance, by souls who recognize the melody and choose to join it. The kingdom call is sounding, not from the sky, but from within you. You are the echo heaven has been waiting for. When you whisper "I rise," heaven records it as movement. It's more than a phrase, it's prophecy. The ground beneath you recognizes your ascent, and creation quietly applauds your awakening. Something has settled over you, a stillness that feels alive. The fire that once roared now glows steady, and your spirit feels both lighter and stronger. This is what it means to be sealed by fire. You have been through the storms, the breaking, the waiting, the awakening, and now heaven presses its final imprint upon your soul. The seal is not visible to the world, but the unseen recognizes it instantly. Darkness knows when it is no longer permitted to touch what heaven has claimed. Being sealed by fire is not an ending. It is a beginning without fear. It means your yes has been accepted, your endurance acknowledged, your faith approved. Heaven has placed its mark of belonging upon you, a sign that your purpose is no longer potential but reality. You are not only chosen, you are commissioned. The ancient words recorded in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 1, verse 22, remind us. He set his seal of ownership on us and put his spirit in our hearts as a deposit, guaranteeing what is to come. That truth hums like a pulse beneath your ribs. The seal is not a brand of control, it is a covenant of assurance. You belong to light. Nothing can counterfeit what has been confirmed by fire. The same spirit that marked you now moves through you, guiding your steps with precision, turning ordinary encounters into sacred appointments. Being sealed means you no longer live by reaction but by revelation. You move differently now. There is a quiet authority in your presence, not pride, but peace. The kind that confuses the world because it cannot be faked. When others see you, they sense stability. When they hear you, they feel clarity. It's not you, it's the seal speaking without words. Heaven's seal also acts as protection. Not a barrier that isolates, but a covering that guards your essence. It doesn't prevent storms, it preserves you through them. Fireproof doesn't mean untouched, it means unconsumed. You still walk through heat, but the flame no longer defines you. Instead, it refines you, leaving only the essence of truth behind. When you carry the seal of heaven, you stop striving for validation. You don't need to prove your anointing, it proves itself in the fruit of your peace. You no longer need to announce your authority. It's recognized in the way atmospheres change when you enter. You are sealed, and sealed souls speak through silence more than sound. There is a holy confidence that grows in this awareness. You begin to see your life differently. The chaos that once felt personal now feels purposeful. You understand that even opposition has served as confirmation. If the battle intensified, it was only because the seal was near. The enemy doesn't chase the unmarked. You might not notice the transformation immediately, but others will. The way you walk, the way you wait, the way you worship, it all carries the fragrance of fire. You've become a walking testimony of endurance turned into elegance. The weight you once carried as burden has become evidence of belonging. The seal also changes how you hear. Before, you prayed from desperation. Now you pray from awareness. You no longer ask if God is near, you know He is. You no longer question if your words matter, you've seen their impact in unseen places where ardent. Prayer has become less about pleading and more about partnership. The seal confirms that heaven listens, not as spectator, but as collaborator. And with that seal comes responsibility. You've been entrusted with influence, maybe not on stages or platforms, but in hearts, in rooms, in moments that seem insignificant yet shift eternity. You are now a carrier of divine temperature. Wherever you go, environments adjust. Fear loses grip, confusion softens, hope breathes again. The seal ensures that your presence carries power even in silence. Being sealed by fire also means you are called to steward peace, not a fragile peace that avoids conflict, but a fiery peace that restores order, the kind of peace that walks into chaos and brings balance without needing to shout. You embody heaven's calm because you've already survived the heat. There is no going back to who you were. The seal has rewritten your spiritual DNA. You are no longer seeking the fire, you are sustaining it. Every day you live, the seal glows brighter through your actions, your patience, your love. You have become both the flame and the proof of what it creates. So walk in it. Let the seal speak through your gentleness. Let the fire flow through your compassion. Let your steadiness testify louder than any sermon could. The mark of heaven is not a crown to flaunt, it's a quiet, unbreakable presence that the world cannot define. You are sealed by fire, chosen by endurance, sustained by grace. The journey that once felt endless now feels eternal. The seal is your confirmation that the story is not ending, it's expanding. You are proof that what survives the fire becomes the fire. When the countdown ends, silence does not follow. Stillness does. It's the kind of stillness that feels alive, as though creation itself exhales in agreement. The clock stops ticking because the assignment has shifted from waiting to walking. You have crossed through the 90 minutes of revelation, through the testing and refining, and now you stand in the afterglow of obedience. Everything around you feels both new and familiar, like returning home after a long journey only to find that home has changed because you have changed. This is the sacred paradox of obedience when you yield to divine timing. time itself begins to serve you. The energy that once felt scattered now gathers around your purpose. Doors that once resisted now open naturally, almost shyly, as if they had been waiting for your arrival. The afterglow of obedience is not a reward for good behavior. It is the atmosphere of alignment. When heaven and humanity move as one, even the air feels lighter. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Samuel, chapter 15, verse 22. To obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed is better than the fat of rams. Those ancient words have always held quiet power, but now they come alive within you. You understand what they truly mean. Obedience doesn't demand spectacle. It births transformation. You are not being congratulated for compliance, you are being completed through surrender. Every time you said yes when it hurt, every time you chose patience instead of panic, obedience was shaping you into the image heaven had seen all along. The afterglow of obedience is subtle but undeniable. It moves differently than excitement. It is steady, not loud. It's the calm after fire, the fragrance left when something holy has passed by. You begin to notice grace flowing through your days without effort. Where there was once resistance, there is now rhythm. You don't have to push for things to happen anymore. They unfold like petals opening toward light. You've discovered that obedience is not a single act, it's a posture. It is the ongoing decision to remain open, even when you don't understand. That openness becomes magnetic to miracles. It draws divine opportunity without strain. Obedience builds a bridge between the seen and unseen, allowing blessings to travel freely without obstruction. What's most beautiful about this afterglow is that it doesn't make you proud, it makes you peaceful. You no longer crave recognition, you crave resonance. The validation you once sought from others now comes from within, from the quiet assurance that you are walking in step with heaven. The tension that once filled your chest has eased. Your mind has room for stillness again. It's in this stillness that you begin to see how intricately everything was orchestrated. The delays that once frustrated you now make sense. The silences that once scared you now feel sacred. Every piece fits, every tear counts. Every test was tailored to strengthen your faith. You were never wandering, you were being woven. In the afterglow, gratitude becomes second nature. You start thanking God not only for what worked, but also for what didn't. You recognize that unanswered prayers were sometimes the kindest answers of all. What felt like detour was direction. What felt like ending was elevation. You no longer measure success by outcomes, but by obedience itself. The peace that follows obedience is worth more than any result. There's also humility in this moment, the awareness that grace did what effort never could. You realize that your strength alone could not have brought you here. Every victory, every revelation, every restoration carries heaven's fingerprint. You are a participant, not the producer. The glory belongs to the one who guided your steps through the unseen. The afterglow of obedience changes how you see others too. You become slower to judge and quicker to love. You begin to understand that everyone is walking through their own unseen countdown, their own refining fire. The same mercy that sustained you begins to flow through your words and actions. You become not only a receiver of grace, but a dispenser of it. And though this feels like the end of a story, it's truly the start of another. The obedience that brought you here will now lead you onward. The light you carry will draw others out of shadow, not through preaching, but through presence. The calm within you will become a sanctuary for the restless. You are no longer waiting for permission, you have already been released. The time of hesitation has ended. You are free not only to dream, but to live as evidence that divine timing is never late. The afterglow of obedience is not fading, it is expanding, spreading from your life into every heart you touch. You are marked, refined, sealed, and sent. The countdown is over, but the calling has just begun. And as heaven watches, time bows its head because obedience, once complete, becomes eternity in motion. Now the circle closes, yet nothing truly ends. The message that found you was never meant to stop here, it was meant to begin again inside you. Every word was a seed planted in the soil of your awareness. Every pause an invitation to listen beyond sound. What happens next is not mine to direct, it's yours to live. If this journey has stirred something deep within you, something ancient, something alive, then let it move through you freely. When light flows, it multiplies. When truth is shared, it strengthens. You are now both the receiver and the messenger, the vessel and the voice. If this message felt like home, let your response be effortless. Let it move as wind moves, subtle but certain. Share it not out of duty, but out of love. Let your share become a spark in someone else's night. If your heart feels drawn to remain within this current of revelation, stay connected, subscribe, not because you must, but because you choose to keep walking with light. Like what resonates, share what awakens, comment what overflows. Before you leave this moment, leave a trace of your recognition. Write "I remember" or in the comments. Those two words mean more than they seem. They say, I remember who I am. I remember why I'm here. I remember the light that never left me. This isn't the end of a script, it's the beginning of a rhythm. You have walked through the 90-minute window, the fire, the silence, the awakening. Now you carry the sound of all of it inside you. Every breath from this point forward becomes continuation, not conclusion. The light moves again, and it moves through you,